so much. An excellent presentation from our speakers today and attendees. Again, if you do have questions, just go ahead and feel free to utilize that Q&A tab. We'll try to get to as many as we can. The first thing I'd like to do is ask, one of our attendees wanting to know a little bit more, if you could, how should organizations prepare to employ automation in their sales tax process? What are those initial steps? Either of you like to take that one?
Yeah, I could take that one. Sorry, I was on mute there. No, so the initial steps are analyzing the resources that are available, right? So figuring out who's going to need to be involved in that conversation. Is this something to where IT is going to have to implement, or is this something to where tax can completely own this project from beginning to end? I would also say start to figure out what aspects of the process are the biggest time drain, right? Is it time spent doing the reviewing the rates and the rules, or is it the actual filing process, or is the exemption certificate process the one that the tax team spends the most on, right? So figuring out which of these sections is currently the biggest time drain, and then figuring out what teams or who needs to be involved is the initial steps.
Any additional thoughts from you, Michele?
Yeah, I would definitely echo Kelvin's sentiment there, that it really comes down to identifying what expertise is within your organization, what can be really handled within your internal IT teams, and where do you potentially need outside help, either from the vendor or an implementation partner. Defining really the roles and responsibilities surrounding the specific project that you are bringing forth, and determining that going into your request for a project is going to make your case stronger and more well thought out, so that your organization can better identify when and how you can accomplish that goal.
That's excellent. Let's talk a little bit more then about the critical considerations for choosing the right automation tool that would best respond to the changing compliance demands. Do you have thoughts on that? Michele, we'll start with you.
I think you need to look at the products and services that are being offered and what are the biggest considerations for a solution that you're looking for. So we covered the entire life cycle of sales and use tax here, all the way from starting with calculating. How are you defining the data that's needed to go into the inputs for calculating tax, through the certificates, the management, the exemptions, and those components, down to, really the reporting. How are we aggregating that data? Do you have what you need for the jurisdictions that you need to remit to? And then finally, again, filing that. So I think the biggest thing for that is understanding your requirements and really looking at the solutions at hand to see how they meet those requirements.
Kelvin, some thoughts for you from you on that, those critical considerations, especially with the changing compliance demands?
Yeah, so there's three that come to mind for me. The first is scope of the solutions, right? Is it a full end-to-end solution that's solving for every aspect of that sales and use tax workflow, or is it simply a point solution only solving for one particular piece? Just what the product actually offers from a scope perspective is important. And then I would also say the customer service associated with that. Is the regulatory team just a black box and those rates and rules just come out with no rationale or no communication? And can you communicate with those regulatory individuals? From a customer service perspective, that's important to note. And then the last thing, and one that oftentimes goes overlooked in a tax solution, is just the technology that's supporting it, right? So if a solution works, but it's only up 50% of the time, is it truly a solution, right? finding ways to ensure that connectivity stays up and just the technology that supports that solution is also very important.